In this episode, I'll be breaking down the number one obstacle that you're likely going to face when it comes to growing your podcast. And stick around because at the end, I'll also reveal another little obstacle that you'll likely face. Hey, what's going on, Impact Podcasters? It's Alec Casson here. And in this episode, I just thought I would share a little bit with you guys a story of my own journey of how I've been able to grow my podcast, as well as reveal some obstacles that not only have I encountered, but that I've noticed a lot of other podcasters encounter as well. So I'm outside, I'm recording this outside, it's a nice day out, so there might be some wind, just keep that in mind. But anyway, in the beginning, let me just share with you a little story about when I started my journey of creating content online, not just podcasting, but like YouTube videos, back in the day, like 2008, super early on. I started because I thought it was cool. I thought making videos online was super cool. This was way before people were really getting paid to make content online. So it was purely just for like the joy of it. And at one point, I actually got sent a check from Google after a short little video got some virality, got like hundreds of thousands of views within like a month time span. And Google was like, hey, here's $100. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. But then something happened. Something creeped into my mind, and it quite honestly just pulled the emergency brake on the traction that I was gaining. And what it was is this thought of, you got to make sure that things are perfect. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Starting to get some views. I got some money. So I got to make sure these videos are immaculate, but meanwhile, none of the videos were. It was like recorded on like little tiny VHS tapes that I then had to like convert over to digital to be able to even put on my laptop. No one really cared. And it was this idea of like, you got to make it perfect that like totally stopped me in my tracks from continuing to make content. And that was actually like the last time I ever got sent money from YouTube when it came to like getting views and AdSense, things like that. And then fast forward to when I started my podcast, it was actually during the time that I had completely shifted my work and things I was doing online. And I decided to, at the time, target specifically ministry leaders who wanted to create content online. I was like, wow, I've got a history and some experience when it comes to growing stuff online. And I know people in the church are wanting to expand online as well. I started the podcast purely just sharing, and it actually is this podcast now, but it was purely just sharing my own experiences, the things that I was learning on this journey of growing my own online business. And it was basically just to share people like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is how it helped me. Maybe it's going to help you. Oddly enough, like that too started to work really well. Started to gain some traction. And I would say within like 6 months of starting that podcast, my work online pulled in like $12,000 in revenue. And I'm not saying that to brag. It's just like that's the journey of things. But then again, the perfection paralysis began to come in, and I was like, okay, I gotta make sure things are going right. Gotta make sure things are perfectly. Meanwhile, it's like, I'm simply just recording this on my iPhone. I have iPhone, the headphones that came with my iPhone back when I got this phone that I'm recording it on. It's nothing crazy fancy, nothing like that. But it's when this perfection paralysis creeps in that it totally like pumps the brakes in what you're doing. And I would say that when you're trying to grow your show, when you're trying to grow anything online, consistency, being persistent as well, and just experimenting, like the mentality of like experimenting is so crucial, because there's not so much weight on what you are doing. If it's simply an experiment, what you can tell yourself is like, hey, I'm going to try this thing. We're going to see how it goes. If it goes great, that's fantastic. I'll keep trying to do that. If it doesn't go great, well, it was an experiment, and then I'll try something different. It's not so set in stone. So it feels good. It's more malleable, and it allows you to pivot like way more easily. At the end of the day, it takes implementation. You got to go. You got to try, even if it's not perfect. Like this video right here. I just like sat down and I was like, what can I create a podcast episode, a video on? Maybe the number one obstacle that podcasters are going to face when they're creating their podcast or they're trying to grow it. And I was like, okay. I just sat down, and I'm just kind of like speaking from experience, from my own mind. Worst thing you could do, is pause and take breaks. I know so many people, they're like, hey guys, I'm going to take a little sabbatical here. I'm going to take a month off. No, don't. Do not do that. If anything, it's like, take the time to see what you're doing and see like where and why your energy is being drained. Maybe it's like, I want to take a break because I'm just so exhausted trying to post my content everywhere online. Then it's like, okay, well, maybe you should take a break from doing that, but continue to make podcast episodes though. And it's like, I want to take a break because I'm spending 2 hours trying to edit out all the ums and likes and pauses that I have in my episodes. And it's like, okay, well, maybe don't take a break from uploading episodes, but maybe don't be so pardon my bluntness, but like maybe just don't be so nitpicky with that. Very rarely do I ever go in and all the parts where I pause in my speaking. I almost never go back and edit out the ums and the likes. And I have my own little tricks and stuff for that. This isn't the episode that I really want to dive deeply into that because it's going to digress a bit. But there's certain areas where you may be putting in more energy than you need to, and it might be those areas that you got to cut down on. But don't take a break from uploading online. Don't take a break from speaking with your audience. Like, there's certain tasks that are crucial, that are going to help your growth. And then there's other tasks where it's like business cards. It's like, business cards? What? Alec, what do you mean by that? Well, it's like business cards. When you're starting a business, clearly the first thing you got to do is make a business card. You got to spend hours trying to find the right dimensions, the right paper quality. You got to spend days creating the proper logo for your business. What does your business do? Well, we haven't decided that yet, but the logo and the paper quality, it's so important for the business cards. That's what I mean by business cards. There are things where it's like, having a proper business card is not going to help your business if you don't know what your business is. Cutting out the ums and the likes isn't going to make the quality of the content better if the content isn't good to begin with. And I'm not trying to, throw shade at anyone. But also spending hours trying to promote your stuff online to people who aren't interested to begin with, it's not going to make it any better. But if you know who you're making the content to, you know what content they want to hear, you're able to create captivating titles for your podcast episodes. Like, that's a big one. And then you're able to speak that content clearly, not just clearly, but clear microphone as well. You don't want the audio to be too distracting. Like, honestly, those 4 things, that's some really good stuff. And quick hack as well, when it comes to your podcast episodes, when it comes to creating something that your audience is going to like, when it comes to having the content be captivating, when it comes to having the captivating title, the place you should start is with the title. Start with the captivating title, because then that not only are people going to click it, honestly, something around 83% of the reason why people are going to listen to an episode is purely based on the title alone. So if you start with the title, you could potentially see an 83% increase in episode downloads. And then also by starting with the title, when you make your content based off of that, well, now not only do yes, people are more likely to click because the title's captivating, but then they're going to stick around because what you're talking about is based on the title. Bada bing, bada boom. Quick little hack right there. And so that's the biggest thing, is the perfection paralysis. I said if you stuck around to the last little bit of the episode, I'd give you a second one to look out for. Just a little tiny one. The last little obstacle that's going to hold you back, taking time to further expand your skill set. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is not feeding your mind with ways that you can improve at being better at podcasting. It means not getting resources to help you improve with your marketing. It means not taking the time to ask yourself, how can I be a better host, a better spokesperson for my podcast? It's like, by not looking to expand your skill set, the ceiling then becomes you. The bottleneck then becomes you. And if you really want some fantastic resources that can help you grow those skill sets, go to impactpodcasteracademy.com. You'll find some really great tools there. And at the end of these episodes, I got a little ad placement thing for the Facebook group, the Impact Podcaster Academy Facebook group. By all means, you can join that. It's a great group of people that help you grow your show and also expand your skill set, so then you are capable of taking your reach, taking that growth to that next level. So thank you so much for listening. If you really liked what you heard so far, make sure to subscribe and rate, all that jazz. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.